Chapter 8. Deep in the dungeons, Cassie, still bound and chained to the damp walls of her cell, listening to all the tortured souls wailing in agony as their voices echo through the vast labyrinth of tunnels. She wonders to herself what fate has on the cards for her. Cassie's thoughts are abruptly dispersed by the opening of her cell door. But no one is entering. She looks to the now unlatched opening, awaiting whatever creature may be lurking beyond the blood-stained stoned walls. Yet still, nothing has presented itself. Suddenly, all her shackles begin to loosen themselves, forcing Cass to drop to the ground. Falling in a layer of sludge, a mixture of blood, rotting flesh, and only God knows what else. She stands up and tries to wipe off the filth from her hands, but only spreads it further.
Wow, that was pointless,
she thought to herself. She cautiously makes her way to the open door. Once there, she peers out, only exposing half her bloodened face, her hands aquiver, wide-eyed and fearful, as she looks down the long stone-walled corridor that seemingly stretches on forever as the light of the flame torches dims into darkness. But she sees no guard, no creature, just the wailing echoes of pain. Cass steps back into her cell, leans against the wall, and slides down, resting her arms and head on her knees. Now is the moment to make a decision. Does she run blindly, not knowing where she's going, or stay put and await her own torture? As she raises her head, moving the blood and hair from her face, her eyes are focused.
No one is keeping me here,
she proclaims. Taking one last look, left then right, she dashes out the door. Cassie makes her way down the corridors, and as she moves along, she is still met with no resistance, no guards, no creatures. She delights in the thought that she has the freedom to move. Yet that glimmer of hope is thwarted by the appearance of a floating shadow in her path. She comes to a halt. It has no features, just a black fog hovering before her. Cass decides to run through it, yet as she makes contact, it blasts her back right off her feet.
Well, I won't be going this way,
she says, and bolts in the opposite direction. But before she knew it, there it was once again, blocking her way, forcing her yet again to find a new path in this labyrinth of blood-stained walls. Yet at every turn, there it was again and again and again. It would not even let her return to her cell. She eventually surmised that she was being herded by the shadowy creatures, leading her to a singular corridor where there was a light at the tunnel's end. She makes her way towards the light. As Cass dashes through the door, she beholds a massive cathedral before her. The ceiling arch was so high she could barely see it, but spiraling down was a mural of sorts. She couldn't really decipher what the pictures depicted. And then, a familiar voice began to speak, coming from the corridor where she had entered.
What you are looking at is the history of our existence here on this foreboding planet. How our queen was deceived by one she trusted. Not a word I would use. After all, what demon could possibly trust another demon?
Zadimus, I knew you had something to do with this, says Cass.
But of course, I aim to please. Now be still. The queen will delight you with her presence shortly,
said Zadimus, as he slowly floated back into the corridor from whence he came.
She is so much fun.
Cass didn't have many options at this point. The shadowy figures all started moving in towards the temple, surrounding her, till eventually she was encircled by a gloomy, dark fog. As she stood there trapped, with nowhere to go, Cass set her eyes on her surroundings. Each pyre leading all the way up to the ceiling did not have the traditionally lit torch. Instead, they had a flaming emerald green orb, which in turn gave the chasm an eerie feel and a most unwelcoming atmosphere. A few of the guards surrounding her begin to vanish into the ground, slowly seeping through the cracks of limestone flooring. But they then reappear at what Cass could only assume was the throne. Rising from the ground up, the black wisps of smoke begin to cover the chair, eventually forming a seated figure. Nothing distinguishable yet, only two bright green eyes staring straight at Cassie. A disquieting gaze forever ghosting her soul. Moments later, a face begins to form. Beautiful, pale-skinned, young, and feminine, and the longest, thickest white locks of hair that covered not only her body, but the entire throne as well, even rolling down the stairs to where Cassie was standing, who is now completely taken back by the sheer beauty of the woman before her.
Forgive my tardiness, Cass. Wait, are you fine with me calling you that? Whatever. I actually don't care.
Said Cassie rather irritably.
Oh, I like your fire. So feisty. Zenimus was right about you. Oh, where are my manners? I am Queen Vervain, and welcome to my home. I suppose you must be curious as to why you are here. All will be revealed in due time, my dear. You must be starving,
She says like the queens of old, as her face melts on one side.
Come, let us dine.
She takes Cass by the hand and leads her out the throne room, her long hair trailing behind them. Horrified to the core, Cassie falls prey to her fears. In all her time on this planet, nothing had shaken her. Not like this. She knows that she can run, but her body is riddled, in fact, paralyzed by one simple question. What if she catches me? She stays silently devastated as the queen spoke on and on, yet Cassie hears nothing, just her beating heart about to burst from her chest. Suddenly the queen grabs her by the arms, Cassie now trembling as she stares into the eyes of the queen demoness herself.
I know you want to run, little one. So do it. I won't stop you. But the hunt will be on, and no one has ever left this house alive. Now go.
She releases the girl. Cassie immediately dashes off. She runs straight back to the throne room, passing the Shadow Guardians, and back into the endless gloomy tunnels. But as before, she was met by the shadowy keepers of the dungeons. In every direction she pursued, once again leading her back from whence she came. But as she pushed towards the light at the end of the tunnel, bloodied, transparent arms reach out for her from beyond the walls, wherein condemned. As they flow through her, each limb gives her a glimpse of a tormented life. The strength of the emotions somehow unlocks something in Cassie. A surge of immense power courses through her veins, and she zooms straight through the giant chasm, moving faster and faster, gaining enough momentum to effortlessly run through an iron door in her way. And there, in the distance, her freedom was in sight. But it wouldn't be that easy. Just above her, matching her speed, was an incarnate creature, clawing from ceiling to pyre, moving too fast for Cass to make out exactly what it was. But It never takes those glowing green eyes off her. Cass immediately realizes it's the Queen. Oh shit, she says out loud, desperately trying to outrun the thing pursuing her. She spots the tunnel's end and rams straight through two thick, solid walls. The Queen's rage can be heard. With split-second thinking, she uses the flying debris from the smashed walls, catching up to every piece, using them as leverage, launching herself off them at incredible speeds. She made it. She made it out the castle, way beyond the walls.
I'm free.
She says surprisingly. She turns back to take one last look at the castle, and then blasts off into the mist-covered wastelands. Meanwhile, down in the dungeons, knowing very well what transpires above, Zadimus chooses to ignore everything when he's overwhelmed by a powerful sensation.
Oh, what was that? A source of great power has been hidden from my sight? Interesting.
He says with much delight. Z then stands there and ponders his next move.
I will not tell the Queen of this, if she does not know already. For with all of that power and my own, even she will have to bow to me.